Okay, so Republican hack Mr. Steve Scalise was recently talking, and he was talking about Cuba and Biden's agenda. It's a shit show. I want you to look at what he said, and then I'll debunk it.
That Statue of Freedom that stands right behind us is a beacon of hope for everyone around the world who believes in freedom. And in many nations like Cuba, that freedom's being denied. And when they seek it in the streets, we need to be there with them. They speak firsthand about what they've seen from the oppression and the ills of socialism. It's about government control. It's about government taking away the freedoms of individuals and having to rely on the government. One of the dangers we see right here this week is there is a march towards socialism by the Biden agenda, by what Speaker Pelosi is bringing on the floor, and we reject that too. We're calling on President Biden to stand with people who are seeking freedom all around the world. Let's make sure here we don't let America become a socialist nation as they contemplate trillions of dollars in new spending on more socialist-style programs. Big government socialism has failed everywhere it's been tried. We cannot let it come to this great nation. We are proud to stand with the people of Cuba, all of those who seek freedom in Cuba and all around the world.
Amazing. So there he demonizes not only Biden's agenda, which all in all I really don't give a fuck about, but he demonizes what he refers to as socialism, right? Now, I'm going to focus on that in this video. I'm not really going to give breadth to his commentary on Cuba, the fact that he's kind of indirectly arguing basically for a regime change in Cuba. And he's really mischaracterizing their entire situation. Look, I'm not going to divulge into the situation that the Cubans are currently dealing with, in part because America is largely responsible for the current problems that they're going through different things that we're doing here at home. But anyway, putting that to the side for a second, I love it when defenders of capitalism do this. It's absolutely amazing. They just make themselves look stupid. And it's honestly just free propaganda for the people that this type of stuff resonates with. So let's just start from the top and go straight down. So just like all other defenders of this current system that we've had for a while now, capitalism, they try to associate, in what he did in this video, socialism with anti-freedom. You know, under socialism, you'll lose your freedoms. Now, first of all, let me just get something across. Socialism is a complex term. There are many different kinds of socialism. Socialism is interpreted across the world in many different ways. It's not always the same. There are many different systems within what people refer to as a socialist system. Okay, there are many different ways of interpreting. There are many different ways of going about it. It's honestly up to the individual, but he doesn't care about that. Neither do the defenders of capitalism. He says that socialism is about government control. Notice something here that you just watched in that video. The constant demonization of government. Government's bad. You should never rely on government. Anything that has to do with the government is terrible and it'll ruin your life. This Ayn Rand bullshit. I mean, it's typical Republican talking points, and it makes absolutely no sense. And it's absolutely amazing how when they, these capitalism defenders, when they go at something like socialism, it's only relegated to one category, right? So they love to pull leaders like, I don't know, the worst of the worst, Mao, Stalin, and all the rest of them. And they say, oh, those are the flag bearers, the socialist crusaders. And, that's what you'll get under socialism, And I've always thought that was a hilarious way of arguing that socialism is somehow bad due to the fact that there have been leaders in history that have called themselves, whether they're socialist or communist, it's all the same to them. They don't make any kind of distinctions. That simply because they existed, that somehow socialism is by default represented by those people, and that's honestly what it means. When you go on that road, you just open yourself up for so many attacks. So under capitalism, there has been no deaths, no massacres, no oppression. We had two world wars. World War One and World War Two, if you aren't aware of what they're called. World War One was fought on the grounds of capitalism, of its progression. All of the countries involved in World War One were capitalist countries, albeit there may be a few that had aspects here or there of socialism or whatever you want to call it in there. It was largely a battle between capitalist countries. You look at World War Two, it's the same thing, except for the Soviets, of course. And then you look even further. Okay, well, let's look at the great capitalist leaders. They came up with a new name for them. They call them fascist. I wonder why. Maybe it's to disassociate them from what they so often defend. Would you call Hitler a communist or a socialist? No, you wouldn't. In fact, the Nazis imprisoned and killed communists and socialists when they got in power. If you look at Italy and its former leaders, such as Mussolini, one could often point to. I mean, this is a road that you don't want to go down when you're trying to defend capitalism, if that's what you hold near and dear to your heart, in trying to attack or destroy what you believe socialism is. Now, in terms of both of these things, they both have their positives, and of course, they both have their negatives. But there is no honest conversation that anybody, at least in the mainstream, is willing to have about this in any kind of educated and honest and genuine way. Let's see what else he had. So, of course, relying on the government, taking away your freedoms. I love this. So socialism is apparently taking away your freedoms, like what we're doing here in this country in regards to abortion. Let me tell you something in case you don't know this. Your freedom isn't guaranteed to you, or you don't have your freedoms anywhere in any given society until your basic needs are met. That means you have a job, you have health care, you're making enough money to live and to provide for yourself and your family's subsistence. A lot of people are lacking that here in America. America is a capitalist country. A lot of people are lacking their freedom, something you say that people would not have under socialism. You know, it's funny because they act like other countries don't exist. So Germany, for instance, is a capitalist country. Germany has a universal healthcare system. Germany has free higher education. Germany has unions. Germany has mandatory paid leave. These are things that he would classify as socialism. You see, they found a way to still have their capitalism, but they'll heavily regulate it, and they'll put in aspects of socialism here and there to kind of make the quality of life for the people in that specific country a little bit better. That's one interpretation of socialism. A lot of people refer to it as social democracy. If you look at the Nordic countries, Denmark, for instance, universal healthcare system, higher education, little to no cost, highly unionized. They don't even have a minimum wage because collective bargaining is so much better. You see, a different, or it's kind of the same interpretation, social democracy, right? They act like these countries don't exist. He says that if you let America become a socialist nation, it'll fail because big government socialism has failed everywhere. Well, in this country, we don't have a universal healthcare system. I'm sure that he would refer to that in itself as socialism. Let's see where the U.S. ranks in terms of healthcare. So I pulled this from U.S. News. It was a poll that was done earlier this year where it ranked countries in regards to the healthcare system. I'll give you the top 10. Number 10, Japan. Number 9, Finland. Number 8, the United Kingdom. Number 7, Norway. Number 6, the Netherlands. Number 5, Switzerland. Number 4, Canada. Number 3, Denmark. Number 2, Germany. Number 1, Sweden. Did you notice something there? I didn't name the United States. Let's see where they fell, or where we fell. 22. Wow. This is a different study. This time it's from the Washington Post. I think it was first reported by the Commonwealth Fund. I'll just give you the headline. U.S. healthcare system ranks last among 11 high-income countries, researchers say. Wow. And guess what? Under this system, this capitalist system that we have here in this country, in regards to our healthcare system, under which they would have you to believe we have the utmost of freedom, if you want to go get care, under whatever kind of insurance plan you have, they might tell you, no, you can't go to this doctor because it's out of network. We don't cover him. You got to go over here. In what sense is that freedom? The people in the countries that I just named can go anywhere in the country they want to get health care. Why? Because it's paid for. Wow. Did you know that we pay the most for health care, but we receive the worst care? We pay the most in terms of our GDP for health care, and our health care is mediocre at best. I mean, the arguments that he's making, I really don't understand it. Trying to associate socialism with government control, with being anti-freedom, as if the system we have now don't do those same things. Have you ever heard of the NSA? Knowing this guy probably hasn't. Look, man, this isn't a difficult issue. The answers aren't difficult to discern. I count how many times he said the word socialism in that video. He's just trying to scare you. That's all it is. He's using a word that was taboo in the United States for a long period of time. And now it's kind of starting to rear its fangs again because people are becoming ever so critical of capitalism, and they're trying to seek out something different and figure things out. And they're looking around the world and saying, hey, they have aspects of socialism here. They have socialists in government here. Need I remind you, other countries do. In Germany, the socialists are currently the strongest party in power. In Portugal, the socialists run the government, of course, along with the communists and the Greens. Communists run the country of China. I mean, the list goes on. Socialists have been successful everywhere around the world. But the political leaders here in America would have you believe that, oh, if a socialist gets elected or we implement something like a universal healthcare system, fireballs will rain down from heaven and strike everyone here and we'll all die and burn up in flames. I mean, look, guys, it's reactionary. It's hyperbolic. It's insanely fanatical. And just to put the cherry on top here, because I've been rambling for some time, to pretend like Biden's agenda, this Build Back Better bill that has been watered down to fucking back, is any resemblance of socialism is laughable. The second biggest policy, the one that costs the most in this Biden agenda, the $1.75 trillion infrastructure bill that they're going to try to pass at some point, maybe this week or the next week. The second biggest proposal in it is a tax cut for the wealthiest people of this country. And I'm not kidding about that. I'll make a separate video. But don't be fooled by the rank propaganda and the lies and the fanaticalism of this individual, of this defender of capitalism. We've heard it all before. We're bound to hear it all again. And it'll never have the kind of intended effect that they want it to have.